Welcome back to Budget Modern. Today I'll be covering a deck that I like to call Allied Enforcement. It is a white-green ally deck that is running 24 lands and 36 creatures. First up on the list of lands, we have 4 copies of Allied Encampment, which has tap, add 1 generic to your mana pool, or tap, add 1 mana of any color to your mana pool, spend this mana only to cast an ally spell. Or, pay 1 generic, tap it, sacrifice ally encampment, return target ally you control to its owner's hand. Good card for mid to late game recursion of getting one of your triggers from one of your allies entering the battlefield. Following, we have Canopy Vista, a non-basic land that counts both as a forest and a plains, but it enters the battlefield tapped unless you control 2 or more basic lands. It is a nice way to generate both colors that you're running, and chances are you will probably have a forest or a plains, at least 2 basic lands on the field by the time you play it. After that, we have Evolving Wilds, non-basic land that has tap, sacrifice it, search your library for a basic land card, put it onto the battlefield tapped, and then shuffle your library. Good card for mana fixing. After that, we have 5 forests and 7 plains. Then, why don't we get into our creatures? So, our first creature we've got is Hada Freeblade, single white casting cost for a 0/1 human soldier ally. When it or another ally enters the battlefield under your control, put a +1/+1 counter on it. Following Hada Freeblade, we have the Great Ondu Cleric, very important card for life gain in the deck. Single generic and a white casting cost for a 1/1 core cleric ally. When it or another ally enters the battlefield under your control, you gain life equal to the number of allies you control. Then we have Serene Steward, 1 generic and 1 white for a 2/2 human cleric ally. Whenever you gain life, you may pay a white. If you do, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature. Good for buffing your other allies, since you will probably have a nice life gain trigger. After that, we have Harabaz Druid, 1 generic, 1 green casting cost for a 0/1 human druid ally. With tap, add X mana to your mana pool, where X is equal to the number of allies you control, but it can only generate 1 type of mana per time you tap it. But it is a good way for mid to late game to be able to produce quite a bit of mana to drop your allies. Next up, we have Oran Reef Survivalist for 1 generic and 1 green for a 1/1 human warrior ally. When it or another ally enters the battlefield under your control, you may put a +1/+1 counter on it. Following up, another good life gain creature, Lantern Scout, for 2 generic and 1 white for a 3/2 human scout ally with Rally. Whenever it or another ally enters the battlefield under your control, creatures you control gain lifelink until end of turn. Very useful. Then we have Veteran War Leader. Great card in this deck. For 1 generic, 1 green, and 1 white, you get a human soldier ally whose power and toughness are each equal to the number of creatures you control. With this deck, you should be controlling quite a few creatures at any given moment, except for maybe your first few turns. It also has tap another untapped ally you control, and it gains your choice of First Strike, Vigilance, or Trample until end of turn. And this creature can become huge and very useful in this deck. Next up, we have Talus Paladin, 3 generic and 1 white for a 2/3 human knight ally. Whenever it or another ally enters the battlefield under your control, you may have allies you control gain lifelink until end of turn, and you may put a +1/+1 counter on it. This is a great card to gain your creature's lifelink and make himself bigger. That way you can gain life and actually have a pretty good sized creature in this deck. Next up, we have Turntimber Ranger, 3 generic and 2 green for a 2/2 elf scout ally. that is honestly one of my absolute favorite allies they've printed so far. Whenever it or another ally enters the battlefield under your control, you may put a 2/2 Green Wolf creature token on the battlefield. If you do, put a +1/+1 counter on turn Timber Ranger. This is a great card to generate you more creatures and to make himself larger, which will in turn actually help your Veteran War Leader grow even bigger. Also, it gives you some great options for being able to swarm the field for having more attackers or more blockers for the following turn or later turns. If you liked this video, please hit that like and subscribe button. If you have any feedback on things you'd like to see happen on this channel, decks you'd like to have covered, or even a specific card you'd like to see us build a deck around, please just leave us a comment in the comment sections below, and check us out on Facebook at facebook.com/budgetmodern. We'll see you next time.